All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We will be waiting for more people to roll in, but maybe if you want to put in the chat if there's anything that you're looking forward to this weekend, we can kind of do a little short icebreaker. I know for me, I'm going to be doing a lot of studying, but I do look forward to playing games with my friends more this weekend because I usually get busy over the week. But yeah, I hope you all are doing well. I know it's week 4 going into week 5, midterm season. All right. So right now we have 5 people. I'm not sure if more people are going to join us actually. But thank you all for being here. I think it is okay to get started now. So hello, everybody. My name is Alina. I am a peer consultant at the SARC, and today I will be presenting on how to organize your internship search. And I'm actually going to start with like the entire internship search process, and then also how to organize all the information that you get throughout this process. So going on to the next slide. Actually, before I start, feel free to ask questions in the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll answer them towards the end of the presentation. But for now, let's go ahead and start with finding internships. So I think when I think about finding internships, I think the first step is to really understand what you're going to look for, what kind of jobs you're going to look for, what kind of careers you're going to search for. And with this, you have to explore your career options and see, okay, well, what is my passion, or what is something that I want to learn more about? And there are a lot of resources for that. So to start off, I wanted to share BuzzFile, which is something from the UCI Division of Career Pathways. It's a database. As you can see in this GIF, you can see a bunch of different employers actually that hire students of a certain major. So as you can see, if you click on accounting, there's going to be a list of a bunch of employers that hire students who have accounting backgrounds. Also, you can also attend events related to career options, professionalism, and internship and job search. So I think all of you here are already taking that first step being here today to understand like a little bit about internship searches. So that's a really great start. And that's a really great way to also see what kinds of careers are available. There's also information sessions. So for example, last quarter, SARC hosted an information session from a nonprofit called TIA Foundation. And I thought it was a really great event because they actually they partnered with SARC and they shared with the students in the School of Social Sciences a little about their company, their values, and then what they're looking for in interns, and talking about their internship program. So I think for us as students, it's really great to be able to have those opportunities to learn about that and hear the employers speak about those positions. And there's also job shadow programs. So I know that the ones that are hosted by DCP right now are on hold due to COVID, but I actually attended a job shadow program in high school. It was actually a really interesting experience because I live in San Jose in NorCal, and then I attended a job shadow for someone who worked at Bank of America. And their building was in San Francisco. So I drove the SF, and then I went to this tall building, Bank of America. And then I thought it was super cool because he shared with us like in his job, he's able to work with clients from all over the world. And his office was also really nice. You can see like these glass sides of the walls, and it just looked really amazing. I know that like I'm not going into finance or anything, but job shadow programs is a great way for you to even like ask a lot of questions to those employers who are offering like this shadowing, mentoring type of role for you. And then there's also a website called What Can I Do with This Major? And I didn't know about this, but I also found this on the DCP website. And it's also a database where you can click your major and then see all the potential fields that like you can go into or explore. For me, a double major in quantitative economics and psychology. So I clicked into psychology, and there's a lot of things that I haven't even like considered. For example, human resources or marketing is actually pretty related to psychology, or would hire people with a psych background. And then moving on to utilizing your resources, there's a lot of resources available. So for example, Handshake, I'm sure all of you have heard of Handshake, but it's a platform where you're able to search different employers or look for job openings or internship opportunities. And then you also can check out the SARC internship database. So that's actually something that I worked on last quarter, and we actually updated it with a lot of the remote internships. And a lot of students have taken SOC Sci 197 concurrently, which is a course that helps you develop yourself professionally, helps you with your resume, cover letters, and gives you assignments that kind of go along with your internship and helps you with things that you can apply directly to your internship. So I think that's a really great way to check out some internships that previous students have held in the past. And there's also on-campus department internships. For example, I'm a SARC intern. I'm a peer consultant in the internship program at SARC. And we're actually recruiting people right now. So if you're interested in what I do, which is like hosting workshops, events, doing one-on-one consultations with other students, we actually have an intro session next Wednesday. So feel free to come out to that and we can provide you more information as well. And something I found out recently is that you can also sign up and put your emails to third-party employer websites where they send you information about positions that you're interested in. So if you're like, okay, I'm interested in accounting positions, whenever there's a listing, they will actually send that to you via email, and then you're able to check that out. And of course, there's also a lot of these websites online like Indeed, Glassdoor, LinkedIn, Google, where there's like a similar to Handshake, they just have a lot of job openings and listings online, and you can see like the job description. You can check out the company. I think those are really great resources to use when looking for internships. Also, you can look at company websites. So if there's a specific company that you're looking for or you want to work for, you can go on their website and see maybe their career tab to check out any opening positions available, or you can even use company websites for networking, which I will discuss a little bit more later. And of course, there are career fairs that are put on by like DCP. So I think there was one that happened last week. There's going to be another one hosted in the spring quarter. And career fairs, for those of you who don't know, are just spaces where recruiters come to, like UCI, for example, and then students can come meet the recruiters, ask them any questions that they have, see if there's any positions open that they're interested in or that fits them. And then you're even able to maybe submit your resume for the recruiter to look, and they can reach out to you later as well. And if any of these, or if none of these work, or if you want to look for something different, you can always create your own opportunities. So you can create your own personal projects, and that shows initiative. And obviously, doing a personal project is very difficult. So that shows a lot of characteristics and traits that you can add onto your resume for the future. And networking is super important. So if you're networking with a lot of people, you can actually find opportunities that aren't necessarily listed online. So I think that's a really great way to find new opportunities. And moving on to a third and fourth like step or tip in finding your internship, I think it's really important to network. So like I mentioned previously, if you're networking as much as possible, you're able to find new opportunities. So I think one aspect of networking is discussing your career goals with people you know, or faculty or your mentors, because I think this is kind of like a win-win situation, because if you're able to discuss your career goals and your passion for something, then that shows that you're able to, like, you've done some self-reflection and you know what you want to do, at least temporarily. And then on the other end of it, the people that you know or the faculty, they can give you some advice. Maybe they can, if they hear about an internship position opening, they can share it to you because you've shared with them that that is something that you're interested in. And then attending panel events are super cool because usually at panel events, there are panelists who come from different companies or different industries. And if they're speaking about their experiences, you can potentially after the event, you can ask them like, hey, I really enjoyed, or I was really interested in when you were talking about XYZ, like I like that you had this experience. Are you able to tell me more about it? Or is there any way that I can share something that, I don't know, just something so that you can connect with these panelists and then start your networking from there. And then also you can join professional organizations. So this is something that I want to do more of as well, but not even just professional organizations, but campus organizations are a great place to surround yourself with people who are doing things professionally, um, and going into a career that you might be interested in doing. Directly asking an employer on LinkedIn. So here is a little bit tricky. Obviously, you don't want to be like, hey, give me a job or can I work here? But I think what's really great about LinkedIn is that you're able to connect with people from different companies. And I think it's one thing that I really recommend is asking them for a 15 to 30-minute coffee chat. So coffee chat in quotations, because obviously we can't sit down and talk right now, but having the opportunity to ask them like, hey, I'm really interested in your role, or I'm really interested in a specific like experience that they had in the past. Like I would love to learn more about that. Would you be available for 15 or 30 minutes to chat with me about your position or something like that? And then one thing to note here is to always prepare questions beforehand because they're they're obviously very busy people, especially if they're full-time employees, and they're like generously giving you their time. So I think it's really important to show that you're prepared, that you're interested, and that you're curious about what they do. And then you can ask them questions about their job or their experiences, how they like the work that they do, and then potentially at the end, you can be like, hey, I really enjoyed talking to you and I really enjoyed everything that you said about the company. I was wondering if there's any like positions that are open. And then also note, always follow up with your network or any potential leads. So always say thank you. I know that like a lot of people are going to help you along the way throughout your internship search, and whether that's your peers, whether that's mentors, faculties, or recruiters, or employers, or interviewers, always say thank you to them. So whether that's sending them an email or setting up a Zoom link and thanking them over a video, I think that's what I would do if I was talking to like a faculty member, for example, or a mentor or staff on campus. And then lastly, staying organized. So I know so far I've already covered so much information. So of course, along with that, there's going to be a lot of things that you will be, a lot of materials that you will be dealing with. So for example, if you're taking notes during the panel sessions, looking at the people or tracking the people that you meet or network with. There's also, if you want to look at like your applications, there's going to be deadlines and everything. So it's really important to create a timeline for your tasks. I think I know that um, it's almost going to be like your classes, right? You're going to have to schedule like, okay, I have something due Friday, so I have to work on it like a couple days before. But creating a timeline for your internship search is important so that you don't procrastinate because technically there's no it's not graded or anything. It's not like a class, so there's nothing really like motivating you to search for an internship. And I've definitely struggled with this. Like I'm just like, okay, I'll do it later. And then like when that later time comes, I'm like, okay, it's okay, I'll do it later. But it's important to start early and create a timeline so that you don't get sidetracked and you keep yourself accountable. And then also it's great to schedule any events that you have, any conferences, or if you are in or if you schedule a consultation with SARC, with the peer consultants or with the graduate student advisors, you can schedule that into your calendar or your planner, however you are comfortable with scheduling your information. And then keeping track of applications. So this part is really difficult. I remember the first time I was searching for internships, I'm just like, there's so much that I need to keep track of, especially if I'm applying to like 10, 20, 30 internships, you know? Every application has like their own deadlines, their own materials that are required. And then I probably have to write a new cover letter for every internship application. So there's just a lot to keep track of. So for me, I'm going to actually share with y'all two ways of organization. So I'll share that with y'all at the end of this workshop. But there's kind of, so I guess like for me, I found that Google Sheets or an Excel format or some kind of table format works best. So I'll share that with y'all later. But also it's important to have a record of your usernames and passwords because um, a lot of websites actually, or a lot of companies have you apply through their website, their company website, and then you would have to create an account through that. So then keeping a note of your usernames and passwords for every single website is also really important. And then compiling information about the position or role. So this is more for, I guess, towards the end of your internship search or when you're getting offered or interviews. So sorry, interviews, because it's, of course, when you're preparing for an interview, you want to show your interest in a company. You want to show that you've researched the company, that you know what the position is asking for and how you fit that role. So it's always good to refer back to the job description and also check out the company website to see what they value and see if that's something that you also value. And so it's important to keep that for future reference, and also creating a bank of all your updated materials and documents. So this is referring to resumes, your cover letters, even your LinkedIn. So your LinkedIn profile, but we can talk a little bit about that later in organization. But usually I use actually a desktop folder on my Mac, and it's because I keep my resumes in Word file and PDF files on there, but you can also use Google Drive folders. I think that's also a great way to have everything accessible online. And going into general reminders. So I just wanted to first say that this is a lot of information. I was like trying to prepare for this presentation and I'm like, this is so much information. Like, I hope I'm not overwhelming all of you, but I want to stop here, pause here and remind you that your worth is independent from the number of rejections that you receive. So all of you are at UCI, you're pushing through during these difficult times. You're still doing classes and everything, and you're worthy because you're doing so much right now. You're pushing through and you're amazing. And sometimes we think that, oh, like once you get a rejection from an internship or you get 2 rejections, you're like, oh my gosh, no one wants me. But actually, like it's expected to get more rejections than acceptances because of course jobs aren't going to hire every single applicant, right? So I think it's important to remember that, like, maybe when a company says that, oh, you're not fit for the company, maybe you can think about it as, okay, maybe this company is not fit for me. So it might not be the right time, or I want a company that is able to recognize like my skill set and my qualifications. So I think that's a way that I think about it. But also some other reminders is to have different eyes or different people look over your materials. So one great way is to just ask your friends. I I actually have my sister look over my documents sometimes because I actually have a twin sister, and I'll talk a little bit about that during this third part. But you can also go to SARC. We have the peer consultants, we have graduate student advisors. You can go to DCP, the writing center, so that they can peer review or edit your resume or cover letters. And then also preparing for interview questions throughout your internship search, because if you're starting to organize your internships and apply to internships, you might start hearing back for interview opportunities, and it's really important to be prepared for those. And what I like to do is create a Word doc, and then I have a bunch of like general commonly asked questions, behavioral questions, and then I just type notes to every single question. And that's just for me to organize my thoughts on paper and then write them down. And then I practice speaking them verbally and answering those questions. And I tend to record myself. I know it's a little bit cringy and awkward to rewatch yourself speak to yourself, basically. But it's really important because I am able to see my hand gestures, whether or not I'm keeping eye contact with the little dot on the screen, and also seeing if my answers are coherent and concise. So I think this is a really great way to practice if you don't really have your friends or your parents to practice with. And there's also DCP mock interviews. So they have a platform called VMock. You can check it out and you can do this mock interview process online. And like I mentioned before, I do a lot of my internship search with my sister right now. We're both fourth year students about to graduate, and we're trying to find things to do after graduation. And she's basically my accountability buddy, and she helps me motivate like me, and just like I motivate her throughout this process. And we actually schedule a time every Saturday from 2 to 3. And we're just like, okay, we're gonna work on some internship search right now, whether that's like updating our resume or whether that's like looking for new things to apply for or writing up our applications. So this is also really helpful to keep yourself on task if you have like a goal of applying to an internship or getting an internship by the summer, for example. And yeah, searching and applying for internships or jobs are long, tedious, and boring, but it's very rewarding. And now I'm going to be presenting two kind of ways of organizing things. So I have Google Sheets and then I have Notion, which I'll explain later. So Google Sheets, some pros about this is that it's easily accessible, it's familiar. I'm sure all of you use Google Drive and all the other like functions with that. So I'm sure y'all are familiar with this, and it's more straightforward. And there's also a lot of useful functions. So you can make general to-do lists with checkboxes. You can have deadlines. You can have you can list like the company, the position, and all the information related to that afterwards. You can sort the table. So that's really useful on Google Sheets. And you can even have multiple sheets for organization. Some cons, though, is that, of course, the only feature is the spreadsheet. So I think, in my experience, making lists on Google Sheets is a little bit difficult. And sometimes, if you're more of a visual learner and you like to see like your deadlines on a calendar view, this doesn't really allow that. You would have to either use Google Calendar or another like method to view things on a calendar. So that's why I tried something called Notion. So some pros with Notion is that it actually has many useful functions. So for example, you can make to-do lists. I think it shows in the GIF, but it's currently replaying. And then there's also a board view. I don't know if y'all have heard of Trello. It's similar to that. And then they also have calendar views. They have timeline views. Um, they also have a lot of tables, and you can link things. So I forgot to mention earlier on Google Sheets, you can link things, but here you can link things to websites, to different pages, to different tables. And there's a lot of freedom of choice and creativity. But some cons of Notion is that it's a new interface, so there might be a barrier to entry, and maybe y'all might not check this really often, and it's something that might be a little bit intimidating, at least for beginners. But in my experience, like I started using Notion maybe a month ago, and I was definitely like really confused in the beginning, but with more experience, it gets more easy to use. But before I share my screen and show y'all those two templates that I made, which I will also send out by email, um, schedule your consultation today with SARC. So we are available virtually. You can make an appointment via the UCI appointment system or visit our SARC website to check out the link. And then all appointments will happen over Zoom. And you can also send us an email about anything, any questions that you have. You can schedule an appointment with us via email if you'd like, and follow us on social media. So we have an Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel. So that is basically the conclusion of the presentation. So feel free to ask any questions that you have in the Q&A or the chat box. And for the time being, I'll briefly show you all this internship search organizer that I made. So here there's like a general to-do list, and if you check these boxes, it kind of like crosses it out as if you're like marking it in like by hand. And then you have your weekly to-do list. So I kind of just moved the general to-do list to the weekly to-do list. And if you wanted to add more, you can just go like copy, paste, and then you can add like week 10, for example. And then you also have like other lists, so industries of interest, other resources, and you can link websites on here. But you can also link to a different sheet on this Google Sheet. So I think this is a really cool function. So now I'm on the second page, and I think if you weren't going to use the first sheet or the third sheet, I think the second sheet is the most important part, where you're able to organize your company, the positions that you're applying for, the location, and all this information about the dates. I think I recommend following up. So for example, if you apply and you don't hear back from them, following up a week or so afterwards, and then if they still don't reply about like the status of your application, you can send like a second follow-up a week or so afterwards. And then you can add in like, let's see here, interview, yes or no, were you given the offer? I put IP for like in progress, and then contact information. So if you're contacting your recruiter or anything, you can put that here, the application website. What's really cool also is that Google Sheets allows you to link to certain cells. So here I took us to certain cells on the third sheet, which is called internship descriptions. And I just listed the company and like all the information here. But like I said, it's a little bit hard to organize lists in Google Sheets. So this is a little bit of like, it's pretty complicated, I would say. But if you wanted to like group cells, you're able to do that as well by going to data and group rows. You can minimize and maximize them. You can see I entered like the ripple match example here, and you can definitely just copy and paste this template if you wanted to add more. I know we're running a little bit low on time, but I just wanted to share really quickly Notion. But this is like something that I made my internship search, and then some affirmation on the side. And then there's a general to-do list right here. My scroll is not working right now. Okay, so there's a general to-do list right here. You can check these off, you can delete, you can add new things. There's also an index of different links and general resources. So basically the same thing that's on the spreadsheet, but I think it's neater because you can make like different bullet lists here. And you can even attach like tables. So this is the same internship, I guess, database. You can sort them, you can filter them. And then there's also a visual timeline. So I think this is really amazing. And you can link to your internship. So this is like a page. You can sort it by internships in progress, all internships, by filtering what you want to see. You can even open this up for more information. So what I did was I added the more information within this so that you don't have to create a new sheet for that. And if you wanted to use this template for the future, feel free to just click template, and it should add all of that on the bottom here once it loads. Yeah, so all that information would be down here. And then one more aspect of this is the timeline view. Timeline of to-do items. So actually I would have to go to all to-do items, and you can see like you can add what weeks you're working on this, what the deadline is, whether you're working on it, you finished it, or if it's in progress. And then yeah, you can view this in like a different view as well. if you want to look at it in a board view like Trello, you can have it on here. So yeah, I think we're about time, but feel free to ask us any questions that you have. If not, thank you so much for stopping by and listening to this workshop. Yeah, so I think we linked the consultations earlier, and then if you have any other questions, I know we're basically over time now, but feel free to email us at sark@uci.edu. And I think that's it. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.